Welcome, guys, to the gaze of our days. And today I'm not alone. Today I'm with Jonah.
Hello.
And today we are on our first episode of the podcast where I talk to different gay guys about their lifestyles, about what do they do in life, how did they get where they are, their coming out stories. So if you're new here, make sure to subscribe. Also, I'll put Jonah's social media in description. So please go check it out. Follow him on Instagram. And yeah, so we're gonna be in chill vibe today. We'll go all over the place. So try to stick with us. Jonah and I, we met on Gavian, and he is adult entertainer right now, full time.
Yep.
What did you do before?
I was a musician. I worked in theater. I was a theater music director, which means I was the person down in the orchestra conducting the band. I played piano. I did arrangements. I decided what the orchestra was going to play. Like all of the creative aspects of the music in a show other than writing the songs.
Okay, so that's pretty big change from orchestra to doing adult. We'll get there. Okay, so I have a first quick question to you.
Hit me.
Where did you grow up, and when did you realize you were gay?
I grew up in the Washington, D.C. area.
That's iconic.
I'm from Falls Church, Virginia. D.C. is very, it's a short-term town. A lot of people move in for political jobs for like a couple of years and then leave. And because of the short-termness and because of the politicalness, D.C. is very neutral.
Okay.
It's as nice as it can be without taking on any qualities.
Okay.
And so nobody shows any sexuality. Everybody has, everybody's a person. They have all this sex going on underneath the surface of them, but you can't show any of it. So there is this like secret, unspoken undercurrent of sex and horniness in DC.
Interesting.
And that really that gets into me as a person and is a big part of my work is the underground connection, the wordless, cruisy connection of sex.
And how long you spent in Washington, D.C.? Did you move out?
I was there until I finished high school.
Okay.
And I moved to Pittsburgh for college.
That's interesting. Yeah. How many years you work in orchestra?
I came to New York in 2010.
Okay.
I got a call from...
You look so young. You talk about 2010.
Yeah, secret old.
Yeah, you talk about 2010.
I think I might have been born in 1915. Like, I think I'm extremely old and just happen to still be 36 today.
Give me your secret. I need it. I'll eat shit if I need to stay young.
You're doing pretty well. So.
Thank you. But so you moved here in 2010. When did you know you were like, okay, we don't know if you're gay yet. We'll get to this part. You can be bisexual. There's a lot going on right now with your discovering yourself. But when did you realize you liked men? Like what age?
I figure out that liking men is a unique thing that I'm doing around 13.
Okay.
Before that, I don't know that homosexuality is a thing. Like, I'm into guys, but I think everybody is into guys. I think that we all...
You grew up in such a good family then.
Oh, no. This is that family dynamics. This is I also grew up Catholic.
Okay.
But we're never going to talk about sex. We're never going to talk about sexuality. And because I never encountered the idea of homosexuality, I'm having all these feelings about guys. And I just assume everybody is, and that it's a big secret that we're not talking about. And that women don't know about it.
Wait, so if you grew up Catholic, didn't they teach you like the Bible verses when they say that it's sin to be gay in
They
high
did
school?
not teach us those.
They did not.
They did not teach us anything about sex whatsoever. There are Bible verses about sex, but if we just don't bring them up, it's like sex never existed.
So if you were in Catholic school, did you try to hit on like a guy? Was it for you something that you're like, oh, if no one talks about it, why don't I just take my shot?
Yeah, I was sort of looking for how to find that wordless connection with other guys, which some have existed. By high school age also, I was out. Like I came out my sophomore year of high school. So it was by like 8th grade, I figured out, oh, homosexuality is a thing and I am into dudes in a way that not everybody is.
Were you terrified because you were growing up in Catholic family and not great dynamic?
Terrified's not a good word for it. I knew it wasn't going to be something that people around... It was going to be something that a lot of people around me didn't like.
Okay.
But it was also like, well, this is a thing that's happening. It's a real thing. We have to go do that.
Younger, do you remember your first like, oh, I'm like gay. Are you gay? Let's do something. Was there like... Because I had a classmates who I remember till now, like 2 classmates that I fool around a little bit. So, did you had some kind of those guys?
And there was a guy in band who sat, I think, next to me my freshman year who I had such a crush on. He had that early 2000s, like, bleach blonde thing going on. And I thought that was so hot. And I was so shy about it. He was in my science class too. I like never spoke to him. He didn't speak to me. We were just kind of like, who are you? What are you doing? I'm so into this. Oh my God. Just play the clarinet and don't talk about it. And like a year goes by and he and my best girlfriend end up close. She and I have a period of like sort of dating before I'm like, something's not right about this. Mm-hmm. And then she and him sort of date for a while. Mm-hmm. And when he tells her that he's bisexual and also into dudes, she breaks it off. And I'm like, well, if you're going to give up on him, I'm going for it.
So
and
that was different. It's always for me, it was a dance class. Like I had like, I was going to the dance classes and that's where I would like have my crush. For you, it was band orchestra.
Yeah.
For me, it was a dance class.
There were two ultimately straight guys in the trumpet section I had such a crush on, and they were both so nice about it.
Uh-huh.
They were both very like, we see your crush, we understand your queerness, that's all cool, I am not into you. I am okay accepting your like flirtation and can even flirt back a little bit because that's fun. It doesn't mean anything for either of us, so like whatever, it's fine. In 2004, in a Catholic school, is a very generous and friendly approach to homosexuality.
It is,
I'll take that.
2004, holy moly. I was like 6. So you came out in Catholic school. Mm-hmm. What was the reaction of your family? Like, did they say, hi?
Ooh. It's really just my dad.
Okay. It's always dads. Mom is very rare.
I have no siblings. My mother is deceased, so It's just me and my dad. And my dad, I got like sort of guilted, sort of forced by my friends into asking this girl to a homecoming dance for reasons. Mm-hmm. And I was complaining about it to my dad, and he caught on to something and like got really insistent about like, why don't you want to ask her? Why don't you want to invite her? What's wrong with her, etc. And I'm like, well, ultimately, I don't want to invite her because I actually have a crush on this guy who I want to ask. And now I can't because I'm doing this polite thing. And then he doesn't speak for 3 days.
Your dad stopped speaking to you?
Yeah, not just to me, just to anything.
He was just alone, not talking to anyone.
He gets up from the bedroom, he comes downstairs, he sits in the armchair. He doesn't do anything. Occasionally he'll like answer the telephone, give the shortest answer he can, put it down. At nighttime comes, he eats dinner, he goes to bed. He does that for 3 days. He gets up on Monday morning. It's like nothing ever happened. He gets ready for work. I get in the car. He drives me to the subway, and we don't talk about it again for a couple of years.
Not talking at all for a couple of years.
Yep. I mean, we talk. We just don't talk about the gay thing.
I had such a similar experience because when I got drunk with my mom and I told her I'm gay, and she was like, well, we can fix it. Like psychiatry, psychology, and then I was like, started crying. I called my girlfriend. It was such a drama. And then we went to sleep, and we kind of forgot about everything for the next morning, and we didn't talk about it for 3 years.
Yep.
So that was the same thing.
What was reopening that like?
Reopening that, like, I was again drunk, and the guy broke my heart with my own name, so it was another art, and I was like, you know what, I'm so over it, like, I have to tell her, and when I told her, I was like, well, now I know, like, you've been talking about gay people for, like, 3 years in the past 3 years, so yeah. What was his comeback? Did he came back and said, like, I accept you, or?
Nope.
So he just disappeared?
It just was tense and awkward for a long time, and he acted like things were getting better, and they solidly were not. And like 2 years ago, once I'd started doing like adult film stuff, he on a call, he was like, "You're hiding something from me. There's something you're not telling me. What is it?" So I set up a call with him. I tell him about everything.
Zoom meeting.
No, I'm like, we need to set aside an hour where we talk about something. And I tell him all about it. And like, this is why I'm making adult films. This is what I'm doing. These are my concerns. These are the successes. This is like how and why it's all happening.
Yeah.
The call goes very well. 3 days later, he calls me back, complete different tone. As long as you're doing this, I don't ever want to speak to you.
Okay.
And then we don't.
That's your dad.
That's my dad.
And you still haven't spoken to him.
I set up a group therapy session for both of us 2 times. A year later, he ultimately went, you know what? I don't want to do this. I don't want to talk to you.
Well, I didn't speak to my dad 15 years, so yeah, we can.
Wait, does that mean you are now?
I don't still.
Okay.
So I still don't speak. Yeah.
Continuing the 15-year
Continue,
tradition.
yeah, my grammar in English, but still. Anyways, well, it happens, right? So your siblings are okay with it, like.
I don't have. I
Wait,
guess I have a birth family and adopted family. It's complicated. I do have siblings. I don't know them super well. They're a lot younger than me. I haven't talked to them about it.
So you basically don't care, kind of.
Yeah, I think everybody who needs to know about it knows about it at this point, and it's, other than my dad, all gone very well.
Yeah. So your friends stayed with you. Were there someone who cheered you up? Was like, okay, you're doing this. It's so iconic. Like, did you had some friends who was like, oh my god.
But most of my friends were just like, finally, you've been talking about this for years.
Okay.
I'm just glad I don't have to listen to you say you want to make adult stuff, and now you can just do it.
I have a question.
Go.
Does orchestra pay bad?
Oh, it doesn't pay great.
Okay.
At the Broadway level, like, it is a six-figure job. It's a six-figure job with unlimited time off, which is excellent. But, like, for that to work out, you have to get on a show that runs for long enough. Like, when I was playing in a Broadway orchestra, the show I did ran for 3 months.
Oh my
god. So I got what would have been a six-figure income
if it
had lasted for a year.
Yeah. And six-figure income in New York is not as...
Yeah, I mean, it's still useful.
It's useful, yeah, but it's not as crazy.
It's still great for somebody in the arts.
Yeah. Did you meet the love of your life while you were doing it? And where did you guys meet?
I meet John.
His name is John.
Their name is John.
Their name is Jem. Okay.
He and they are both appropriate, though they are currently leaning on the they a little harder.
Okay.
They are visiting New York from Seattle in 2018.
Okay.
They are taking an investigative trip to figure out, do I want to move here? Do I want to live here? What kind of work? Where would I live at? They are staying with somebody who lives in my neighborhood, and I am sitting in the local coffee shop. I am orchestrating a musical on my laptop, and they sit down next to me and open their laptop and start studying a choral score. And we're like, what's your music? What are you doing?
It's so romantic.
It's very much a meet
It's
cute.
like movie.
We're also both playing Pokemon Go at the time.
Okay, cool. Pokemon Go people, shout out to you. So you immediately have so much to talk about because you play Pokemon Go.
We also find out we have like 40 friends in common.
Okay. For gay community and like queer community is pretty popular, I think, right? So we all know each other, kind of.
We've encountered each other previously. We have my most recent ex-boyfriend in common. While that ex was in Seattle, they hung out. I saw pictures of their hangout on Facebook.
So who did start talking to who first?
Teo, John, they use a couple of names. Teo started talking to me when I got up to leave. I was too shy. I was like, you know what? I'm recently out of a relationship. You might not even be a gay person. I'm just going to go. And they said hi as I got up, and we talked for a while. And
So they said hi to you first. And you're like, oh, hi.
Yeah.
And you guys started talking.
We talk. We see who we know in common. We share stories. We exchange information. They're in New York for a month. We hang out constantly, and then they go back to Seattle.
Okay. When did they move here?
A month after that.
Okay. And you guys start living together immediately or separately?
We lived together like a year and a half later. We gave it a little while.
That's pretty good amount of time.
Yeah.
That's what I say. If you don't live with someone I don't think you're really dating yet. I feel like you're pre-dating stage. Because once you start living with someone, you really can see the person without any pink eyes, pink glasses.
I disagree with this.
Tell me why.
I think there are a lot of important aspects of getting to know someone and getting close and creating a bond that are not necessarily about living together.
I agree. So that's why I say you don't have to move in like within a month. But like I think like if you're dating 2 years is already like you should move in.
But I think people who've been dating for like 6-8 years who are not living together yet are still in a valid relationship.
Absolutely, yeah. But I just feel like sometimes, for me personally, from where I experience and like my friends, I feel whenever you live together, it kind of brings you to a different level of closeness. Like I feel like it really, it kind of it is more serious once you live because you have to like split a lot of stuff. You have to like fight about small things. And like, I feel like it brings you close so much more. Again, everyone works differently.
Yes.
So everyone is very different. In my experience, I like when I look at the people and I see like, someone is dating 6-7 years and they didn't move in together. They've never seen this kind of people yet. But
I think in this question, I think about like a few couples that I know who sleep in different rooms.
True. That's valid though.
Yeah,
like
I think that's the same thing.
Yeah.
It's the knowledge of like our spaces meshing in that way is not an important step for the progression of our relationship in the same way that our independence of space is actually good for us to individual.
I have a girlfriend and her fiance. They've been dating for 5 years, and after 3 years, they started to sleep in separate beds, just because like he snores, she likes to not to have anyone who snores and just like wants her own space. Like there's multiple reasons. They're like very basic reasons, but it doesn't mean that they're not as close. So sleeping in separate beds for me, as long as you like share the bathroom, I don't know, this basic stuff.
I think
So I can see it, you know?
I think also right now of like New York apartments are small.
Oh, true,
If
yeah.
you can have two close enough if you can be close enough neighbors and have your own apartments, that's actually pretty great.
Yeah.
It's in a different city, but I know a long-term relationship where they live like 5 blocks apart and have their own spaces and sleep over at each other's constantly. But having your own independent, dedicated space.
That would be iconic, yeah. Or, have a 2-bedroom apartment. So, and try to do it. We got a king-size bed, because, like, I want more space inside of my bed. I was sleeping in queen size. It was cozy, but, like, king-size makes such a big difference.
I can't believe that in an apartment with a beautiful view like this, you were able to fit a king-size bed into it in New York.
We just moved in, so,
This is extraordinary.
I am very happy with the king-size bed. Wouldn't be able to sleep in different rooms, but totally get when people do this. You lived together. When did you engage? Like, how long did it take you?
We're not formally
married.
Yeah,
Okay.
we're in a long-term relationship that I intend to continue permanently. Refer to them as my partner.
Okay. Why did I think you said like husband?
I feel functionally like I am married.
Okay.
I think part of the hesitation for me is that, like, a wedding is a big expensive thing, and if you want to do a wedding, you want to make sure that you do it right. What do we both want out of it? When is it going to happen, and how much is it going to cost?
But 6 years together is pretty long time.
Yeah.
What's
Like-
the secret?
Ooh, communication, obviously. It's
Okay.
always the answer.
Okay, so this is very basic answer.
Yeah.
We need something more in deep because
Okay.
that's what everyone says. Communication. Every time I ask, I was like, okay, what do you mean by communication?
It's being able to understand each other and being able to say what you want and what you need and how you understood things. Hey, you did this thing. I felt this way about it. And in the future, it would be easier for me, for clarity, for feelings, or whatever, if we did it in this way. I need this kind of comfort in this moment. I need this kind of space in this moment. I need this kind of support. Do you have room to give that to me today?
That's a good point.
Yeah.
I like when Michelle Obama said that it's never 50-50. In my case, it shows like it was 70-30 and I was 30. And I was like, there were some days when he was coming back and I was like, I just don't have it to me. Can you help me to do this? And that's where I learned. It's never going to be 50-50. I feel like this is a delusion that people expect on the internet, romanticizing the ideal relationships. And that's why we have a lot of breakups pretty early. And I feel like divorces, because the society kind of have the ideal standard of relationships of, you have to be monogamous, you have to do this, you have to like have kids, get married, all this stuff. And then we have 50% divorce. So it's not working.
It's one of the things I like about queerness is that queerness on the idea of like sexuality, orientation, gender, etc., doesn't evenly fit into like single prescriptive versions of itself.
Yeah.
There's no one or no 5 right ways to do this. They're all going to be varied and unique. It means that our relationships become that too. You can tailor each of your relationships to what they individually benefit from being.
Some people cannot comprehend that it's possible.
I am aware of that.
A lot of people just, think it's very, very bad.
My comment section lately is very upset about the broad uniqueness of the queer experience.
Yeah, but I feel like we're getting there, and I feel like it's mostly older generation, who were born in like 90s, 80s, 70s, 60s, who are like a little bit more close-minded. I feel like people who are born after 2000 is...
I'm having very much the reverse experience.
Really?
I'm finding, yes, I experienced that particularly for like people born in the 50s, 60s, particularly people who like queer is a threatening term because it carried a lot more dangerous baggage for those people. But I'm finding a very like sex-averse like Gen Z quality.
Interesting.
That is like, it's very important to me to normalize and sanitize the way that I am perceived or how I interact as a non-straight person.
I have a theory why Gen Z can be a little bit more conservative
Give me
when
this.
it comes to queer people. A lot of Gen Z right now, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, So they're still were brought up by this ideal relationship, monogamy and stuff like this. And a lot of them never had their first boyfriends, never had, even though they're more likely to get a first boyfriend than, 10 years ago. They just have this idea that should be this way. And then they see people who are like you, who are millennial, right? And you experience already relationships and you already experience your boyfriends and many, many more stuff. So you know how you don't want to be heteronormative. So those people are still conservative because like they didn't even majority of people who don't understand open relationships, I feel like in my comment section, my assumption they never had a boyfriend.
There's
My
there's a lack of
assumption
experience to draw.
there's a lot of experience and they're like, oh my gosh, I can give you a simple example when there's a very popular trend on TikTok when like young gays who are like 18, 19 show pictures of femme guys who are like, I don't want this kind of boyfriend. And then they show a picture of a bunch of honking college guys. It's like, I want this kind of boyfriend. And I was like, I really, really wish I could tell them that the femme guys who you showed very often are actually tops and the Han guys very actually often bottoms and want to be very submissive, but they pretend to be tough. But like just because they're 18, 19, 20, 21, they don't necessarily experience, because like before 23 years old I barely had sex. So of course like I thought that it's always should be one way and not another. So I think like once people get like the first boyfriend, the first breakup, once they have like relationships for 2 years that they want to be monogamous, okay, like go for 2 years monogamous relationships or 3 years or whatever, and then talk about you still want to be always monogamous, but first you have to like try it out. So I feel like a lot of people, just the lack of experience, who are younger, they judge people who have a little bit more experience and who went through those phases, and that's why they're more conservative.
I agree with a lot of that. There is a purist attitude.
Yeah, purist is a good word. Yeah.
Yeah, I have come up with an ideal way of doing this that is not pragmatic, that has not faced any real world situation.
Yeah.
But it's an ideal of gender, of relationship, of sexuality that I and other people should live by, and other people who have failed to live by that are not as good as me, who is hasn't tried to yet, but is going to live by that.
Yeah, and as a person who is from Ukraine, I was very against feminine gays at first. When I moved here, I did not. It was like, why do they walk this way? Why do they talk this way? Like, why can't we all just be like normal guys, like us? You know what I mean? But then it's just
Normal guy is a myth.
It is, but it doesn't exist. Normal, what's normal? But then it's just kind of with times, especially, it was all before I came out, right? But then I started to meet more people and started to experience more. It's like, okay, like, I like feminine gays. Much often they're more fun than the regular, normal gays. So that's, I think, was basic. And I was brought up in very DL environment. So of course I'm gonna be like, oh, can you just talk like a guy, bro?
Yeah.
So, but it's funny how this, again, very delusional younger gays who think that this college jock Musk bro is like gonna be like dominating them. But then in reality, very often it's otherwise. Like I see so many like tops and bottoms sorry, not tops and bottoms, but I see
and masks.
femmes and masks, and femme guy would be very often top. But everyone is like, oh, he's definitely not a top. Like, so they're gonna hit the reality check at some point, and that's when I feel like people will be less judgmental. I'm curious about the next generation, like Gen Alpha, if they're gonna be right away more open just because we're moving faster, but we're not there yet. The first day you told your partner about you wanted to do adult work.
Ooh.
Was it scary? Were you nervous?
We have a month together while they're visiting New York. They go back to Seattle for a month. Then they move here. And 2 weeks after that, I'm like, hey, so here's the deal. I am planning a large group event, a 30-on-1 kind of event. The theme is I look like the dad in Mary Poppins Returns, and everybody's going to get in on that.
Okay.
You don't have to be into this. You don't have to come to it, but it is happening. You have to be okay with it. And
you said you have to be okay.
You have to be okay with it. If you're going to date me, you have to be okay with the fact that I'm going to have this all-on-one group event that is also full of people that you at least have met. And my partner went, all right, this is unfamiliar to me. I'm new to open relationships. I'm like new to that kind of sexual self-expression. can I help you plan it? I think that will give me an anchor to understand it by, even without participating.
Interesting.
Yeah.
In what way to help?
I think being able
Did
to...
they do casting?
They, my beautiful, wonderful, extra musical boyfriend, planned an opening ceremony.
Okay,
There's a jockstrap cutting with
Okay.
a big pair of scissors. They wrote parodies of Disney songs, risque, racy parodies of Disney songs. So they helped organize it from a charismatic and extra
there was the
point
whole
of view.
production involved in it.
Yeah, which was great. It was
Did
all
it turn
very
out well?
silly. It was wonderful.
Okay.
And like everybody there, of course, when I actually finally get into adult content, is like, I mean, we saw this coming. You were at your party. A couple months later, I am working on a musical. I'm orchestrating. Hans Berlin is an adult actor who wrote a musical about gay adult entertainment, and I had worked with the director previously. He brought me on to do the musical arrangements. And Hans wants to have a meeting at, can I say the name of the bar? The Cock? Mm-hmm.
I'll beep it. It's
Great.
okay.
It is genuinely the name of the bar. It's on the Lower East Side, and there's like a flesh pit in the basement, and he used to go there. And so he based a location in his musical on this bar. Mm-hmm. And after an hour of being in this meeting trying to talk about the show, I'm like, I have to go to the flesh pit that's over there. And I go home with this guy who turns out to be an adult actor, Joel someone. I tell him how I've always been curious about video stuff. Mm-hmm. We take some videos. He puts 30 seconds of it on his Twitter. It goes viral. And I'm like, oh, I have always wanted this. And now it's happening. I go home and I talk to my partner about it. And I'm like, look, here's the deal. I'm not ready to jump into adult video yet. But I am going to need to do it. Apparently it is possible. And if I don't do it at some point in my life, I'm going to regret it.
Okay, makes sense.
And we talk for a year and a half. Mm-hmm. That's like March 2019 that happens. And we talk until about June, July of 2020, like first couple months of the pandemic, to figure out where does this fit into our lives? What do I want out of it? Like, what is the getting in process? What is the getting out process if I need to? Like, how do we negotiate our own interactions around this?
Interesting. And then you came to the conclusion they allowed you to do this.
Yeah. Like we figured out what it would mean to me and to us and got in.
Did it affect your sexual life in a positive way? Do you feel like your relationships and your sex actually got better with your partner after you started doing adult work?
Yeah. I mean, like...
Why do you think it happens?
There is a double-edged sword to it, which is that I do have to reserve some amount of my energy for...
Your partner?
But also for the work.
Mm-hmm, true,
like,
yeah. Mm-hmm.
I cannot put 100% of myself in either of those things. I need to keep some amount reserved for both. I think it makes me a better interactor. Mm-hmm. It's really their story to tell, the ways that it has, but I think it actually opens doors for my partner's own personal...
Interesting, really.
Yeah.
Maybe we'll bring them at some point together.
That's their story to tell, but I think it opens a lot of internal possibilities for them.
Okay, that makes sense. Do they get jealous, ever?
I don't think so.
Like emotional level, do they get jealous?
They have not described anything particularly as getting jealous.
Okay, that's
or
pretty
shown
good.
behavior that shows that.
Because some people are just great of not getting jealous. Like some people are very confident in themselves or just can process it easy.
I said something early when we were first getting into this open relationship setup, like in month 2 of the relationship. You're gonna have to trust me on this. And that is a decision that I would like you to make, to choose to trust me. Give me 3 months. Mm-hmm. Give me 3 months of very obviously hooking up with other people, some that you know, some that you don't, all of which you will hear about if you want to. And if at the end of that 3 months you do not feel like the most important person in my life, we can call it.
I agree, yeah.
But let me prove to you that can all happen and you can very clearly feel like the most important and treasured person.
Why do you think so many gay people on TikTok, on their podcasts, super against when they talk about open relationships? And there is like couple podcasts that are like very aggressive, even like I would say, oh, this open relationship's gay. I talk to them, it's like, is it?
I mean, without having seen them individually, I really can't speak to them directly. Mm-hmm. I can cross-reference the discussions that I see on Reddit about this.
Oh, interesting. Mm-hmm.
That feel... To some degree, it's sour grapes.
Okay.
It's I'm not in an open relationship, so they must be bad.
Oh, that's a good point.
If I'm not having one, if I think of them as being bad,
that means
then
they're bad.
It means that it's fine that I'm not in one because they're not good.
The world should work the way I want it to work. And if it doesn't work the way I want it to work, it's not right way.
Yeah, the thing that I don't have isn't good.
Okay, that makes exactly good sense. Reddit people talk about it.
Reddit people
Talk about everything.
Reddit people talk about everything. And everybody's mad about everything.
No, yeah.
Oh.
No, that's such a good point, though. I do understand what you're saying, but because like I've seen like before we talked about Gen Z and like being more conservative, which I understand, right? But like when it's like older guys like 35 who are actually in TikTok space or like YouTube space, it's very crucial when they talk about something and they have affection on this younger generation, and they're actually working against their own community by judgment, by putting some rules, something which 20 years ago they could be judged. Like in many countries today they would be dead, 69 countries, because someone doesn't think it's right. Someone said to someone that it's not good to kiss with the guys. So they're repeating this kind of experience for other people, which I think very hurtful.
On the open relationship heat, I would like to offer back into the world, like, I am not a monogamous person. I have learned over time that monogamy does not suit me well. I am not a good partner. I do not develop strong supportive relationships, and I also begin to wilt under that scenario. It's not something that ends up being good for me or for the person I'm in the relationship with. But it is right for some people. Like, monogamous relationships are great for the people who they're good for.
Yeah.
And I do not need to understand
why they're
how
good.
or why that is good for them.
Yeah.
Because it clearly is.
Yeah.
And I don't have to do them just because it works for somebody else. I love being a polyamorous person. I love the open relationship that I'm in. Maybe there will be a third person in that relationship for one or both of us at some point. Who knows? Just because it is working well for me does not mean that I expect other people to do it in my way or any other way.
Or judge other people who don't do it your way.
Yeah.
So
your monogamous relationship is super valid if it's working for you.
Yeah.
We're all different people.
I think I want to talk about the specific part of your life as your job more in detail, maybe like next time if we could do this.
Sure.
But I want to still touch on it. And do you ever feel like it has an end? You're doing adult videos. Do you wake up at night and think, I'm going to age out and no one is going to subscribe and I'm going to lose my income?
I'm not worried about aging out.
Okay.
Like, I started this several years over 30, which is, I think, the hard transition point, is from, like, the challenge for a lot of people seems to be between, like, 27 and 30 when you move out of, like, obvious core youth into, like, the rest of life.
Exactly, yeah.
And I started beyond that point, so I'm not worried about it. And I also started lightly in the daddy role, and I'm going to grow into it over time. I'm not selling body. I'm not selling youth. So, like, as those things change, I'm not too worried about them, like, excluding me from the work. The two things that I am worried about are stamina, especially in this last year. I just crossed the 4-year marker in adult video. There's a number of people that I know who set that as their marker personally. I'm going to get into this. I'm going to do it a maximum of 4 years, and then I'm going to move on. And a lot of people don't make it that far. A lot of people do it for 1.5 years, 2 years, 3 years. Being in it for over 4 years is I've been here longer than almost all of my peers already, and it's not that long of a time. I'm looking to the handful of people who have been here for 20, 25, 30 years.
Not many of them are.
No, I especially look to Christopher Weston.
Yeah.
He's been doing this since the early 90s, and he's so vibrant and creative and has so much joy in what
Never
he
heard
makes.
of him.
He's
So that just provides like, and I like watch a lot of videos. It just provides the context that there is always audience who doesn't know about you.
yeah.
So
He and his partner Amp are very much YouTube people. They have a
Interesting.
YouTube video series. But
maybe I did. I don't know.
maybe. I look at Reese Rideout, who's been doing this for 20 years. He also keeps bringing new approaches to this. He was at the AVNs.
Maybe
I
I
don't
saw
know if
him.
you interviewed him. I had to. Anyway,
I'll check them out.
yeah, I look to these people who've been doing this for decades and be like, I need to study how you've done this, how you've both maintained like change and growth that keeps people interested, but how you have kept yourself interested.
So when it comes to stamina, you think about your personal interest in it and not being tired of doing it?
Yeah, it's about preventing burnout. I burned out on my first career.
I do it all the time too. Yeah. I
And
feel like it's inventable. Like I feel like no matter what you do in your life, you're gonna burn out. It's just the matter of can you reinvent in some different way to make it more interesting again.
it's how do I do the breaks? How do I change direction? How do I
Yeah.
add new elements that keep me feeling invested and feeling creative?
And again, when I talk about TikTokers or YouTuber people who do social media, I've been doing it for 3.5 years, and things that I've done on the first day when I started and things that I'm doing now, they're completely different. Because I constantly kept burning out and constantly was like, okay, that's not interesting anymore. First, I was like walking with the gay flags, and it would get me like millions of views just for walking with the gay flag, bare minimum. Then it stopped working. Then there's like skits and like lip sync and
Yeah.
POV videos. Then it's like, okay, I got over it. Then there's like interviews, and now interviews are dying out on the street. So there's gonna be like next thing that it has to, and also I'm losing interest in the same questions or the same approaches. So for me, I feel like I kind of made peace with myself that I just know I'm burning out every like 3-6 months, and I need like 2 weeks or 3 weeks just don't do anything in order to recover. Do you have any ways that you deal with this? Or
Ooh, in the recovery sense, like I love doing things that take me off grid. It just really helps me to get out of my phone. A thing that I can do that puts me in the woods, in the desert with my phone, in my tent, unturned on for a week with a large group of queers where I can like really get into my feelings and make connections with people and also engage in my sexuality in a non-product fashion. That really helps me. I did that last week, so I'm actually in a really like bright and sparky place right now.
sometimes when I think I take off out of working, I actually start just watching internet, which is not useful for me because my screen time goes to like 15 hours per day. And that's the time that is the most dangerous, when I try to compare myself to other people, see success of others while I'm taking a break and feeling like I'm missing out on working and blaming myself. And I was like, yeah, but I'm in bed. It means that I'm resting, which is not the case at all. I'm just procrastinating. I don't know if the procrastination is a good word, but like I'm just being upset, right? And I feel like for me, what works the most is probably just talking to my friends.
Yeah.
That's like, I just get a wine, and then all my friends live in different cities, so I have to call them. And that's, I'm just calling them, drinking wine, and then it calms me down.
I was gonna say like go see them, get on the plane and go see them. But I guess
Sometimes I do this, yeah.
But I also imagine for you in the same way it does for me when you're like, oh, I bothered to travel somewhere, I better make content about it.
Exactly. And the travel itself kind of like lost the purpose in the past couple years for me in terms of like what it was before. Because if I go somewhere, I'm not going to make a vlog, especially if I do vlogs on YouTube. I feel guilty for going. You know what I mean? And like there was a couple of trips when I actually, okay, I'm not making a vlog. Because vlog is just like you have to constantly film yourself and like something good gonna come out.
Yeah.
But I was like, okay, I didn't film a vlog. I feel so bad. People are gonna think that I'm just like wasting money. But then again, a lot of the trips that I go travel is just because to film something. Or like, I have a thing, I'm afraid of gay people in New York City. So for the longest period of time, I just went to different cities to interview gay people. And for some reason, I have like this block inside of me. I'm just afraid of gays in New York, which is not fair because everyone who I met here are nice. And majority of time I hear yes. Like, it's not like I had a bad experience.
Are you worried of like bitchy New York gays?
I'm not necessarily bitching New York gays. I'm just worried about, okay, I'm doing men on the street interviews. And again, I've been doing it for 2 years. But there's so many people in New York who do it and like bother other people. So sometimes I feel like, oh my gosh, I'm going to bother this person. But they go with their day. But then again, a lot of the time when I bother someone, they're actually thrilled that I want to talk to them. They feel good about themselves. They want to talk to me. And the most recent example, I went to Washington Square Park, and there was like these 3 guys who are straight, and I needed them for straight interviews.
I've seen some of these.
Yeah, that's one of them. And I was like, hey guys, any chance I can ask you a question? Plus, you can make money because I'm giving away, like, if you can win like up to $120 right away here for nothing. And one of them says, no, very good. And the other one stays and looks at me and is like, he wants to do this video. And I'm looking at him, wait, are you good? Are you sure? And the third guy who's like behind them is like, well, I'm gonna ask your video. So this one guy told for everyone, no, we're good. So, and I interviewed the third guy who was behind both of them. And then we left. And then what do you think happened? We're like
The
going.
second guy comes and finds you?
Yes, the second guy comes and find me and like start asking questions. Is like, and I was like, "Dude, can I interview you?" And he's like, "Yeah, for sure." I was like, "So this one person decided for everyone that no, we're good." But then in fact, that these two people wanted to be interviewed. So that's kind of like I'm always afraid of this negative person, but I know the majority of them are like into it.
It's a tricky balance. We're doing this thing that allows you to interact in front of other people
Yeah.
in a large platform way. There is both a desire to not bother people who do not want to be in front of people in that way, and also share pieces of it with people who do want to be in front of people in that way.
Yeah. And a lot of people want to do it. And a lot of
Yeah.
people, you know, when they do it, I have some friends who are like, can I do it? Because I want to see comments of people asking what's my tag. Like, I want to get this attention. You know what I mean? They want to do it. But, you know, people decide for them. So stamina, that's the thing you're afraid that you're going to run out.
That's one of the two.
Yeah.
Now that I passed that 4-year marker, I actually feel much better about it. But stamina is one of the two things, longevity. The other is the internet. The internet is so ever-changing. Like, I am worried about all of the pieces of it that I know going away and changing.
Within like a couple, like AI, you mean? Or?
With like AI taking over the content market, or the downfall of social media, because people are definitely burning out on their ability to care about social media. The fact that I present myself mostly through it means that as a medium is going away.
I was thinking about it too, but also Hollywood is going away because streaming replacing it. So I feel like there is always like now Hollywood actors are actually worried because they have to get on TikTok to promote their movies, you know. And I love Billie Eilish more than anything, but when there was a video when she talks to Kylie Minogue about, hey, why there's so many TikTokers here on People Choice Award, and then like 2 months later she releases her album, and a lot of creators get an email, hey, come to our listening party and promote Billie Eilish. So she complains about the TikTokers being at the People Choice Award, but then we get an email from her team like, hey, come to promote her album listening party. So it's like people are adopting, I feel like, and people don't know, people are scared. So I feel like a lot of those celebrities or singers, they don't accept, you know, the TikTokers, which are, you know, there were 200 TikTokers at DNC this year, and they hired because they have influence.
That's a way of creating and marketing things. Somebody asked me recently, like, you should write a book. And I was like, why do I need a book? A book is going to take me so long to write to reach a much smaller number of people than I can with a 1.5-minute long TikTok video.
Yeah, and that's the whole point. Like, I never really cared about Kamala Harris, and then I watched a bunch of Coconut Tree, and I started to love her because of stupid memes. You know, it was incredible that like meme culture right now, right? It's still pretty strong. But I agree with you in terms of like, is it gonna go away? I do have AI model, like I created 4 months ago, and he is presented as a real person powered by AI, and we just posted pictures of him trying to make his voice and stuff. And he gained like almost 14,000 followers, and he probably makes like $400 on fan views, like knowledge of OnlyFans for AI models. But I don't see personally that it's gonna take off that much. I've seen a lot of other AI models who are like making commercials with like big brands. But I don't know. But I do have the thing, like you say, is being able to keep up with everything.
As things change, what's the change that I'm not going to be able to adapt to?
For me, in previous time right now, the way I deal with it, I'm trying to talk to as many young people as I can. Like, I think this is a good way because young people always ahead. When it comes to young people, I'm 27, but when it comes to young people, it's like, if I see some Gen Z content creator who is like 18, 19, 20, like, I want to talk to them, ask what do they do, what do they think about social media future? Like, how do they perceive? Like, that's what I want to learn. I feel like that's a good way to like stay on the top of things.
Here's the deal. What I'm really here for is I want to put my videos online and I want people to watch them. I make all of this because I'm like, social media is fun. I like doing it. It's a great creative outlet. But all of it for me is because I want to show people my
You don't desire to be social media famous. You desire to be people to see your work on other platforms.
Yeah, I want to have a hot time with people and have other people watch it because that's what I personally enjoy.
Yep.
Everything else is an accessory to that. So I always feel really silly when I'm like, I'm climbing a tree with a cup of coffee in Prospect Park so I can do a TikTok live, and I'm like, this is also I can put pics on the internet? We are very far from what we are trying to do right now.
Very dystopian, yeah.
But it is how we do that.
Yeah. It is a free promotion.
But as far as like staying on top of the curve, I don't know, because like...
You do a great job on TikTok and Instagram, though.
Yeah, but they're
Like, your
also not going to
story
be
time.
here forever.
True, but like at the same time, TikTok and Instagram was here over like 10, 12 years, whatever.
That's fair, and
it's
it has
not going
changed
away. Yeah,
tremendously
and
at
it's
that
changed
time.
from like first time I updated it. So I also don't see what it's gonna replace it now. Let us know in comments what do you think is gonna replace social media, if it will, because I don't see it going away for now. Next 5-10 years at least.
Yeah.
So we'll see.
I mean, I plan to live longer than 5 or 10 years, so I have to think about that.
Same, yeah. You gotta say it. I just have last 2 quick questions,
Sure.
and we're gonna end it up. Okay, so you live in New York City.
I
One
do.
favorite thing about New York?
Ooh, how many people there are?
How many people?
I am comforted by crowds of people. I like when I go to sleep at night knowing that there's like 100 people within 50 feet of me. I'm comforted by the fact that if something happened, I could reach out and find someone. I like being on the street when there's so many people around because I feel like if I don't want to be noticed, I'm not.
And there's no.
Everybody's looking at somebody else. Everybody's thinking about something else. I am surrounded by access to people if I need them, but I'm invisible unless I make it a case not to be.
I feel like people in New York are very interesting, unique, very
Yeah.
authentic, and very diverse.
Looking at
Anywhere I go anywhere I go in the world, like Europe or anywhere, I was like, oh, that's like interesting, but like I miss New York people. I always miss New York people, and they're not comparable. And I know I don't want to sound like New York people are the best, but there's just something I can connect to people here.
New York encourages sharpness.
Yeah.
DC, for a contrast of growing up in DC because of, again, that political transientness is very neutral. It is as high quality as it can be without taking on any qualities that somebody might dislike. Mm-hmm. And New York is very like, I need you to have an opinion. I need you to have a point of view. If you don't have something to tell me,
Go away. Exactly.
Don't take up my time unless you have something. It doesn't have to be good. It doesn't have to be well done. It doesn't have to be like even particularly unique. It just has to be strong. Have an opinion or get out of here.
What do you not like about New York? What do you don't like?
Hard to be close to people. Mm-hmm. It's such a big city, and it is like where you can be just like to live based on what is affordable and what space you need and what things you need access to mean that you're kind of always an hour from everything.
Makes sense.
I hate being so far from my friends and the things that I want to do, but I feel like there's nowhere that I could live that would also solve that.
Okay, so this is the Gaze of Our Days, episode 1. Jonah will come back to us, I'm sure. If you guys have interesting topics to us to talk about, please let us know in comments. Definitely please go check out all of his social media and his very interesting website. It's good. I've seen on Twitter. Do it.
I'm show off Jonah everywhere.
Show off Jonah everywhere. I'll leave the link in description as well. Thank you guys so much. Thank you, Jonah.
Thank you, Art.
We will come up with some interesting ending yet. You know, I need to like something interesting at the end, maybe like. But we'll see. You're the first episode. You'll be a recurring guest. Please don't forget to smash the like button, subscribe to this channel, and one of the things I do is podcast on this channel now. So we're gonna see you probably next week or a couple weeks, and go watch my other videos and vlogs and interviews. I'll see you in the next video. Bye.
Bye, y'all.